we try to do this as much as possible.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
This is great. We just like to, have as much interaction.
Yeah, Keith, if I put on this Facebook that Pat Zolko owes me money, will I get it? Will that help?
You're live now.
All right. So welcome to the SGS1 podcast. SGS1 is a media technology platform developed as a grassroots effort by dedicated youth sports leaders from South Jersey to provide content covering topics from coaching, education, sports technology. Tonight we'll be discussing teams and leagues in our area and standout players and coaches. Subscribe to SGS1 on YouTube, Facebook, and Apple Podcasts. We've got a guest, Anthony Cancelliere is Director of Operations for the Philadelphia Spartans Soccer Club, along with Chad Levine. They play in Major Arena Soccer League 3. And welcome, guys. Glad to have you on.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Anthony, what happened? Your first game here, is that the first game of the season, or is that the first game home? Was there an away game?
No, we played our first game 2 weeks ago here. We lost 10-5. It was a tough transition. Just a lot of those guys, it was the first time they've ever played at that level inside. They're all very good outdoor players.
Yeah.
And it's going to take us a little time to get used to the indoor game. So
Since then, I've seen that you added, I think, 2 or 3 more players. Is that, I guess, when there was it Wacker? What's his name? Steve. One of the guys. Didn't he used to play for the Philadelphia Kicks?
Scott Whimsy.
So, I guess you're bringing him on just to, get the younger guys, to the teach the younger guys. Is that why he's on there?
Yeah, I mean, we have
Veteran experience.
3 guys from the original Kicks team. Well, Pat Morris, he helps coach, when he can make it. So he shows up to trainings, runs some of the training sessions. Then we have Jeremy Ortiz, who's the head coach. He runs all the soccer. He's the one that picks the team. He's the one that runs the trainings. He pretty much does everything. And he played a couple of years with the Kicks when he first got started. And he played a couple of years in Baltimore. And he also played in Rochester. So he's won a couple championships in that league. Whimsy won a championship with the Kicks, maybe his rookie year. So we have those 3 guys that we're kind of relying on to, show the younger guys how the game's played, and just having them around is it's a great influence on the younger guys.
Most of these kids from Philadelphia, they're all from Philly, or
every kid is from Philly or Jersey, pretty much. We have a couple guys that played at St. Joe's, a couple of people that played at Cabrini, Jefferson, a lot of Holy Family guys. So
okay.
You can't get any more local than the Spartans.
How one of the questions I was asked to ask you is, our league, South Jersey Soccer League, goes up to about U17 through U19. How does one of them? How do we prepare them kids to try out for you guys to make that team? What are you looking for?
What we do is I think most of the guys did play in college. All of them played in college. So, when they get, when they're done their career, or, they contact us, ask us for a tryout. We bring them out to a couple of trainings, and that's how, that's basically how Jeremy formed the team.
I mean, I will say that throughout high school, if you're planning on taking that route and you want to really getting used to the indoor game specifically, really gives you a leg up. So if a kid knows that, hey, I'm not going to make the MLS, I'm not going to play for Manchester United, but to get to familiarize yourself, because the strategy, the type of player, the things that work are night and day from the outdoor game. Still the technical skills are the same, and it's still soccer, but learning what to do. Some of the things that you were taught not to do are great decisions in the indoor game.
I mean, basically, it's given a bunch of local kids an opportunity to keep playing. when, you know, when their careers, you know, and if they do want to try and play something at a higher level, you know, hopefully some of these guys get seen to be, you know, from someone to get another opportunity. So.
Chad, how hard is it to get a team into the arena leagues? How hard was that for you?
I mean, I think they vetted us to make sure that we were serious. And that was the hardest part, was just, you know, saying, hey, we have a venue. We have people who would be interested. We have, you know, and I think they were pretty excited because Philadelphia is such a big soccer market, and they've seen, you know, the Union have had success, and it's traditionally a big soccer market. It wasn't that hard of a sell to, you know, to these guys because it was such a natural fit.
They wanted to be here.
I mean, like some of the places, you know, like some of the more remote places had a little bit of a harder time maybe convincing the league.
How hard is it for, like, all right, so how many people can you fit in Mount Laurel? And is that your home base? Is that your home field? And then you have other home fields, or like?
Well, because of, you know, being the height of the youth season, we have to split it between Mount Laurel and Hatfield. They couldn't give us, you know, enough time because a lot of the rinks were already booked with.
We also wanted to, you know, go in different areas to, you know, to give different, you know, it's, if it's an hour and a half drive, you might not make it, but if it's a 30-minute drive, you know, so spreading it out for the first year and seeing, you know, and giving everybody a taste was part of it. Sorry.
So I guess what are like half of the games over in Mount Laurel, half over in Hatfield?
Yeah, we have 5 home games. 3 are in Mount Laurel, 2 are in Hatfield.
So it's a 10-game season?
10-game season, correct. And then what they're supposed to do for the playoffs is either they're going to pick one venue and they're going to have like Friday night semifinal, Sunday final.
What place, like, so from how many teams are in your division?
There's 5 teams in our division, or 6 teams in our division. I think, no, wait, 5. I think it's 5. But there's also a division that they're forming on the West Coast. And
Okay.
I don't know whether, you know, right now, I think they're just going to keep it to 2 regions. And then eventually, you know, they cut down on travel costs, that stuff. Maybe at some point have a final somewhere in, you know, in the middle of the country.
Yeah. What kids do you have from South Jersey, just off the top of your head, you know?
You know what, I'm not 100% sure.
Jeremy is from South Jersey, our coach. Jeremy is.
Good for him.
But I think, I bet you there's probably 4 or 5 guys. I don't know, you know, I don't have the roster in front of me, so I don't know their hometowns. But everybody's local.
Yeah.
So.
I think it's great what you're doing. I mean, Anthony, you and I are about the same age, and so is Mark. I'm sure Chad is. Growing up in Northeast Philadelphia, the Kicks were a huge part of my childhood. Going down, watching their games, you know, you just really keep the dream alive. I think what you guys are doing awesome is great. Thank you for doing this. One of the other questions I had is where did the name Spartans come from?
Well, the Spartans they used to be a pro team in Philadelphia in the 70s. The Roonies from the Steelers owned them. And, you know, it took us a while. We were, you know, we talked to the guy from the Kicks probably for close to a year. And he was going to let us use the name, not let us use the name. Then, you know, he wasn't sure. So finally we just decided, let's, you know, Chad actually did the research and pulled up the Spartans and said, well, people, you know, people might recognize the name from the past. So that's how we went with the name.
Okay. What do you happen to, just off the top of your head, know who the youngest player on the team is?
There's a kid from Manor. That's definitely the youngest on the team. I'm not, probably like 19. Yeah. And I don't know whether, you know, and the rest of the guys, you know, we're fairly, you know, older compared to some, you know, some of the teams that we saw. You know, so we're always looking for younger guys to, you know, to come along.
So like you try out for the Spartans. How does that process work, Chad? Or like, who does someone reach out to? Just
you go on the website and there's a form. It's a tryout submission form.
Okay.
And then once you fill that out, you email it, and Jeremy gets a hold of it. Jeremy will then tell you, hey, look, we're training Wednesday at whatever. Come on out, and they start bringing you out to trainings, and that's how they have the tryouts. So it's
How
totally.
often do you guys, where do you, like, how often do you train?
They train once a week during the season. Right before the
Okay.
season, twice a week. You know, so that's you know, that's what that's what we're doing right now, once a week.
Is that over there at the Northeast Racket Center?
No, it's at XL. It's at XL in Mount Laurel.
Oh, okay. So a kid tries out for your team, they inbox you. Like, what's the process after that? Like, what happens?
They get invited to the tryout, and they show up. And if you know, if you know, if they think that, you know, you're able to play at that level, they invite you back. And like, we're allowed to sign 35 players. You only
Okay.
dress 15 you only dress 15 per game.
Okay.
So it's you know, it's you know, just to keep the practices going and keep them competitive, you need 35 players. So
Yeah.
you know, it's hard to find 35 guys that, you know, to come out to a training on a Wednesday night, you know, because all these guys work regular jobs. You know, they
Yeah.
do this, they love the game. They don't do it, you know, because they're making a living out of it. So
Yeah.
you know, it's you know, we're always looking for people. So anybody, you know, from the area that's interested in you know, coming out, just go on the website, fill out a form, and we'll set it up at the time, and you come out. You know, the open tryouts throughout the whole year.
Okay. So we'll make sure we get the word out. So with the I've never been to the XL over in Hatboro. How many tickets are you trying to sell and are you having any success with that?
Well, the first game, we let everyone in for free just because it was our first game, and we wanted to, you know, make sure we ran it right, and we, you know, it was a learning experience for everybody. So you know, now we're hoping to sell 100, 150 tickets a game, and you know, that's about it. We're not, you know, we know we're not going to get 1,000 people there, you know, so you know, we're hoping a lot of the players bring their friends and family to help out, and then we want to get some youth clubs involved, and you know, have nights for those clubs where, you know, we can do fundraisers where the club gets half of the, you know, half of the proceeds back for coming over. The kids get to play in between, you know, in between halves, and they get to meet the players after the game. You know, we want to be
great.
Yeah, that would be great. So right now is our indoor soccer season. You know, we're between fall and spring. So, and I actually loved playing indoor soccer just because I was a defender, so it actually forced me to move a lot more than some of my actual 11v11 field play. But I would love to get our kids that are playing indoor over. I'm looking at your schedule, and it looks like you're later in February, I guess, is when you're playing home.
We're away until the end of February, and then our next 3 games, I believe, are at home.
Excellent. We'll see what we could do. I'll let some of the indoor teams that I know. It's just interesting to see. You know, we can watch MSL, we can watch Premier League, whatever, but to see, you know, because we do spend a lot of time doing indoor soccer. I mean, we got guys, you know, teams out there now that, you know, they don't really practice, but they're, you know, they're there on the Saturday or Sunday, and it's a different game. So it would be great to see, you know, a higher level of that game.
That would be awesome, man. I guarantee you we could get you some, if you needed help with that. We could definitely get you some teams over there to help out. That would be awesome.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it's all about. We want these kids to think, well, you know, later on when they get older, if they're playing, why can't we do it? You know, so you know, hopefully we're able to keep this thing going for many years, and you know, these kids will grow up watching the Spartans like we did watching the Kicks.
How many refs do you have in each game?
3, 2 on the field and 1 in the box.
So there's like a penalty, like they're like walking.
Yeah, they have the headsets constantly talking. Yeah. Yep.
Is there like do they have like a VR system?
And, you mean the rink?
Yeah, like are they refs
Good,
like
replay?
replay?
No, everything's done by headset. We're not that advanced.
Okay. So like in like regular soccer, though, like if they see a goal that shouldn't have been a goal, are they allowed to call that back?
No, we haven't really had that happen yet, but I'm sure it's going to, because the XL, the board, there's no net. It's a you know, boards in the back.
Yeah.
So I'm sure at some point there's going to be something, you know, a shot that goes in pretty hard that, you know, but we didn't have it the first game.
Okay.
there's no type of video or anything like that. So I guess it would just be the three of the refs, communicating. So.
Old
Now, where
school
are these, who assigns the games, do you know?
I'm not sure they have a league of signers. He's not from Philly. And it's the same
Okay.
referee for M1, M2, and M3. Like, for
Okay,
example, Kicks played in M1 when they
Yeah.
played. There's different standards. Like, they have to have a certain amount of capacity. And that's really the real deal. We started in M3 because the franchise was affordable, and
Yeah.
it gives us a chance not to have a lot of the requirements that the bigger clubs have.
Okay.
Like we have, we're trying to sell tickets. They'd have to sell luxury boxes to keep everything going. So, at that point, it's a real business and a real, we're
Yeah.
starting at the bottom to, try and work
I
out.
like it like that. That's better like
Yeah.
that, I think.
And we do, and we have two paths that we think are possible to grow. One, right now, we have kind of a feeder system with the Harrisburg Heat where we lend players to each other. And
Okay,
they're an M1 team. And if we grow ourselves, we could move up depending on, popularity. If it stays popular, then we'll grow to an M1 team. But if not, we would just become somewhat of an affiliate of Harrisburg and swap players with them. But a bunch of our players, they lend, when they want a guy to get extra touches or something like that, they'll lend a player.
that's great.
We did have a Harrisburg player play on our first night, and Jeremy still plays for Harrisburg. So when we're not playing, he makes their trips and plays with them.
How far do you actually travel? Like, what's the farthest, like, where's, out of the 6 teams, what's the farthest one?
Virginia Beach is the furthest one. I believe it's like 5.5 or 6 hours.
Yeah, that's not that bad at all.
Yeah, the rest of them are, Northern Virginia, Maryland. There's 2 teams in Maryland, Northern Virginia. So they're the average team is probably, between 2.5 and 3 hours. And that's what they try to do, because they said the reason why the Kicks folded was because, they would travel to Mexico or LA for one game.
Right.
And they're playing, they're flying, they're doing that. Their goal now is to kind of keep everything regional
Yeah,
and keep the travel costs down. And then, as you continue to go on, then you start playing games across country. Like, they were just trying to make it easier on those team owners. And they think this model will work with that. And the group that runs our league runs M2 and M3. And they're eventually just trying to take over the M1 league as well. So everything's kind of under one umbrella with, relegation and all that stuff.
do you have like, any, like, out of the I guess you said 30 kids you can actually technically have on your team. Are all these kids driving to the game? Are they taking a bus together?
What we do in away games is we give them like, gas money. And we try and get them to carpool. So maybe there's like 4 or 5 guys going to, drive up, because you can only roster 15 guys. So
Yeah,
if you get 4 or 5 to drive, trying to keep, like, for us to survive, we have to, try and not, save every penny we can. So unfortunately, we're not at that level yet for any kind of team or, anything like that.
all right. I think it's great what you guys are doing for the area. And I think it's awesome. Thank you so much for doing all this.
Thanks. Well, hopefully, like I said, hopefully it works out. And, we had it when we were growing up. So if we can give it back to these kids growing up and, it gives them another chance to, further their career, then we did something right. We're not going to get rich off it. We're not going to, we do it because we love the game.
So your season is January to the end of March?
Yeah.
Is okay. And are any of the games on the internet, or is there any way we can see you?
We live stream every game.
Okay.
So it was actually the first game. It was pretty successful given that we had not advertised at all. And we had 300 people watching the stream and 150, between 125 and 150 people at the game. So
That's great.
So
make sure you give me all that information after this. I'll promote it, and I just want I get tired of watching the Germans, watching MSL kind of doesn't have the waiting for them to get back.
I think it's nice just to know people's names.
Yeah. Oh my God, yeah.
Thank you, guys. Is there anything else? Is there anything that you'd like to note right now?
Yeah, we'll just, we'll send you all our info on, for Facebook and for, our website. You guys can, all our games will be live streamed.
You
Check
guys
us out.
got, you guys got
Myself.
merchandise?
We can get
Shirts
a South Jersey Soccer League night at one of the games and have you guys come out and, hopefully, the league continues to grow. We continue to grow, and whatever you can do to help us, we appreciate.
Maybe at halftime, we can have a Lincoln versus Judge game.
Public First Catholics.
Public versus Catholics, that's right.
Oh, no.
Publics are actually winning. Yeah, Publics actually, and I think I have the most goals too, Anthony.
No, I think you're mistaken. I think the other guy did.
No, I have the most goals. All right. Yeah, he just said merchandise. Do you have merchandise? I'd like to buy a shirt or something from you to help you out.
Yeah,
I
we
think
do.
it's awesome.
We're gonna try and get an online store,
Okay.
but shirts, hoodies, we have everything. So we'll definitely get it up online for you guys to see, and we'll be selling them at the games too. But our goal, like we're new at this, so we're kind of learning.
Yeah.
So
Congratulations, guys.
Thank you.
thanks.
Thank you for coming on our show, Mark. Is there anything else? Anything at all?
No, good luck.
Yeah.
I've got something new to watch. I'm happy about.
Our next game is Sunday at 3, and you could live stream it, and we'll send you guys the link to live stream it.
I'll definitely post it on SJSL, SJS1. Make sure people have it.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks.
Good luck this season. Good luck.
Thanks. Love to have you in the game.
I'll see you.
See you.